Hello, everybody. You're listening to The Reality Show Bros, an all-new independent podcast from two reality TV podcasting veterans. I'm Fox Van Allen, your reality TV obsessed host, and joining me this week is my co-host. You may know him from TV Guides, formerly from TV Guides Survivor Brothers and TV Guides Big Brother Brothers. It's my good friend, Lance Cartelli. Hello, Lance.
Oh, I got a good friend. I'll take that.
Yeah,
hey, Fox.
You are an acquired taste that I have acquired, Lance.
Yeah, as long as you acquired it, it takes time, but it only took 5 years of absence for you to reacquire it.
Yeah, it hasn't. I guess it has been that long, right? We were last reality TV podcasting in the year 2020.
Yeah, I did some quick math.
Yeah, in an IRL podcasting studio before the world fell apart. Talking about some of the best seasons of Survivor, like season 30, 39, and 40. We
hit the jackpot with the best Big Brother and Survivor seasons.
Yeah. We had it was a time of growth and change in reality TV when we last talked, and I think you said it best over text a few days ago that we are in a golden age of competition reality TV.
It's almost reality TV nirvana.
Almost. Yeah. And I honestly cannot believe that I am here excited to talk about a show called Deal or No Deal Island.
DONDI.
It sounds like a 30 Rock skit. Like it sounds like something that like Tina Fey would have come up with, but it is real. And to my surprise, it is pretty damn good.
It's real and it's spectacular.
That's right. I have I've binge watched season 1, and of course we are knee deep in season 2. I'd love to talk to you about that today. We're also going to cover some Traitors as well. Cover some of Peacock's best reality TV shows.
Peacock.
Yeah, and later in our podcasting season, we'll be talking about shows like Survivor coming back with an all new season very soon. Love is Blind is coming back. We've got The Challenge to talk about. We have a whole ton of shows coming up, and I am very excited because it is all the same contestants that are just being shuffled around into different shows. But I am not complaining.
That's all we need. I mean, since they struggle to create actual new stars, you got to play the hits.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just keep rolling out Cara Maria now after, we'll cover that in a later episode.
So let's get into it. It's time for some Deal or No Deal Bros right now. We'll get started here. First of all, this is our first episode podcasting about it. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the series as a whole and the season so far, Lance.
So far, it's spectacular. I mean, you throw Dr. Will on the TV I'm watching. He's my favorite reality TV character ever. So He's the reason I watched Big Brother 2 live, as a young pup, and he's the reason I got hooked on it. So getting, vintage Dr. Will back is everything, and seeing him up against Parvati, who, I personally think probably the best Survivor player ever. So just the fact that they are going head to head and they clearly don't like each other, I'm seated.
Yeah, you called it vintage Dr. Will, and that's exactly right. I mean, this is some classic reality TV that we're getting out of him. This is like a throwback to 20 years ago when he first, or over 20 years ago when he first played.
And he hasn't lost his fastball. That's what's like the best part of it. He still knows how to get under people's skins. I've heard a couple people that have, that watch DONDI and they're like, I can't wait for Dr. Will to leave. And I'm the exact opposite. I don't think he's long for the game, but just like Boston Rob and Traitors, it's fun while he's there.
Yeah, you either love him or you hate him. And I too have heard that same exact comment about Dr. Will, that he is an awful person and I cannot wait for him to get off this show. And then by the time the episode was done, we all understand why Dr. Will is on this show. It is a Dr. Will show, this episode, talking about season 2, episode 5, Trust Fall here. It is just Dr. Will from start to finish.
And I mean, I can't complain. Like, it's so good. And like, I don't think I've ever seen Parvati that frustrated in anything. You know, the Black Widow just controls everything, and for her to be that mad, and like I thought it was really funny that you know, the family was so frustrated, but then you get the confessional with David, and he, you know, realizes like in the moment how good Dr. Will is and everything.
Yeah,
So to me, it's perfect.
Yeah, Dr. Will has these two survivor greats. I mean, Parvati, who, you know, we all know and love. We've seen her play a survivor so many times, and David, who a lot of U.S. reality TV watchers may not know, one of the absolute greats of Australian Survivor. A lot of people underestimating him, including MG. Who commented while they were doing the excursion that David doesn't seem to be playing a very good game, while simultaneously giving up her entire game to try to save him. Let's talk about this excursion, because I think this is actually a very interesting competition that they have here. I love the twist that they had where they're setting people up in teams of two, but then they're actually competing against each other. You know, they're not teaming up with each other. And I think the best part is that even though they think that they are going to be competing with each other, somehow Dr. Will winds up with Dixon. I think that is just setting us up for some fantastic TV at the jump right there. And they are right to.
Yeah, I wonder if the producers just were like, oh, wait, they're together, so now we have to make them go against each other just to, you know, add on to their. Like, you wouldn't expect them to be rivals and everything, but it's pretty fun to see. And like I mentioned earlier, with Parvati getting annoyed, you don't see Dr. Will get that annoyed. And Dixon, you know, got under his skin a little bit and everything. The weasel that he is.
Yeah, when Dr. Will gets annoyed, it's all performative. Like, it's all like him acting for the camera, him acting for the other castmates, him putting on a show. Hard to understand what's real and what's not with Dr. Will. That's part of what makes Dr. Will so great.
But even in Dr. Will's, you know, best and worst moments, you never really see him get that frustrated. Mm-hmm. So seeing him get actually frustrated was interesting to me. Yeah. I'm still hoping we get a Chilltown, you know, confessional or something from him.
Odds of Boogie coming back on Deal or No Deal Island very low.
Well, he got evicted from Chilltown, so you know, the mayor of Chilltown can still do his one-man mayor band.
Yeah, well, Boogie kind of got evicted from real life. You know, some problems there. We won't see him back on a future season. But Dr. Will, love at this competition. You know, like, he makes a big deal, like, oh, no one rushed to be my partner here. Like, I'll just stand alone. And for some reason, like, Dixon sees that and he's like, you know what? I'll join with you, Dr. Will. Dixon is, I want to say, like, I think he is not that good at reality TV. That may be an understatement. But he does know, I think, what people like to see on TV.
I think that's more important.
Yeah. And
to me, I think I listened to the Bananas podcast with Wes, and they were talking about how it's more important to be entertaining than to win the game. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And I'm not sure Dixon was really going for that. He's obviously trying to win. You know, there's $5+ million available and stuff, but like, that's how you get back. That's how you make this a career and everything. So, and I think a lot of people, I think that's been the problem with a lot of reality TV, is people just want to, you know, have that boring game and get to the end. And we don't have enough people that want to be entertaining. And that's the whole point of reality TV.
Yeah. And I got to say, like, just overall, the casting on Deal or No Deal Island has been very entertaining. You know,
Peacock is the best at just casting right now. Like,
they are doing a fantastic job.
We've had some pretty not great casts in some of the more popular ones. Like, Survivor still does a good job, but, you know, you have Probst saying that he doesn't want to do villains. Mm-hmm. Big Brother's, you know, usually a miss now and stuff. So Peacock is done with Traitors, with this, you know, the Real Housewives stuff. Like, they just know how to cast.
Yeah. And, you know, it's, I mean, amazing that, you know, now that Peacock has a Traitors, which is kind of like the, you know, the cream of the crop as far as like reality, like, that's the reality TV show all the big players want to be on, because it's kind of like,
well, everything it feels now like Real World that is now feeding into the challenge. Like, everything that NBC has is just feeding into Traitors now. And that's if you're a reality star, that's what you're shooting for and everything.
Are we going to see Dixon on the Traitors?
I mean, let's see how the rest of the season plays out. As of now, I'm going to say no, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point. So
I want to see Dr. Will on it again, and not just as a person that is there for an episode and not playing.
Yeah. I cannot get enough of Dr. Will, and fortunately for us, this episode has plenty of it. But before we get into the genius of Dr. Will's moments, I'm curious about this excursion here. I was really surprised to see so many people working together on this. You know, like most teams seemed to be with some crying here or there to be on the same page as like, oh, you've got the high case, you take it. I'm worried about going home, but we'll be fine. And it's really only Dr. Will and Dixon who have any kind of trust issues, and to a little minor degree, Parvati and Philip.
Yeah, Parvati and Philip was interesting because they both, I don't know if this is how it was edited, but they both lied, but in like a not very good way and everything. And that's what you want to see. Like, I want to see people go head to head. And that goes back to my entertaining thing before. Like, you keep working together. You don't love that. And then I also thought it was I didn't love the challenge just because, like, Letty had the $3 million case, but no one else had $3 million on there. So it seemed a little unfair, too. Like, make it so that other people can win. Like, that was just almost set up for that. And so I found that a little perplexing, I'd say. Vexing.
It's a little biased to the person who goes first, but that tends to be kind of par for the course for these challenges on Deal or No Deal Island. If you're gonna get a head start, chances are you're gonna have the best opportunity to get that high value case if you want it. Letty just, right off the bat, first to go, picks up that $3 million case, and that's unbeatable. Like, once that case is off, she's in the power position, which is good news for her group of ragtag Deal or No Deal players who are not part of this kind of creepy family. I think the family is a little bit creepy. What do you think, Lance?
Yeah, definitely. Calling Dixon, their son and everything. But I'm hoping that the other team calls themselves like the Homewreckers or something. Come up with a good rival, name and everything. But
I like that.
I do think, it's a little weird, but this is what you want to see. You want to see some of the best players go head to head. Like, you didn't want to see Dr. Will, teaming up with Parvati and everything. And actually, I don't think Dr. Will's long for the game, but he's set up in a decent position right now where everyone's really focused on the family and everything.
Yeah, and Dr. Will is able to, turn this excursion and, being on the bottom into really a great opportunity for him, because he was just started the game in terrible shape. Even I think that first episode, Parvati commented to him, it's like, listen, you're playing the game a little fast here, and it's going to get you in trouble. Although it could very well be that Parvati goes out before Dr. Will.
I think Parvati, she's been safe every single time. So I do think, depending on what happened, who is in power, you got to take the shot at Parvati.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the way the game goes, though. Boston Rob made it pretty far by either being that person who was immune and could not be voted for, or being that person in the bottom on his season, where you can have that power position and be the one who chooses who goes home. Dr. Will does not want to make, I guess, the same mistake that he made last episode, and having Dixon do his dirty work for him. And obviously, we know that CK stuck around and Storm went home, the inhumanly good-looking Storm, with the 24-pack, just ridiculous, and leaving his showmance partner, MG, Maria Grace,
show episode
all along. Is this our first Deal or No Deal showmance here? This is something.
The Epimance was fun to see. I haven't looked up to see if they're still together and everything, but I did see that despite all the the hate Dr. Will gets and everything, he hired MG, and so Dr. Will obviously on in the episode versus real life is a much different person, which I think is how you should be a psychopath in the game, and a good person outside the game. If you can kind of, it's another thing that we have issues with. Like a lot of people can't separate those two things and stuff.
Yeah, he may be both. He may be a psychopath in the game and a psychopath outside the game. It's
maybe
that was that.
I
think that was MG's take on him by the end of the episode.
Well, I don't think you'd work. Would you work for a psychopath? I mean, maybe we both have, but I wouldn't if I had a choice.
Well, yeah, I don't know. He's a charming psychopath.
Those are the best. Yeah, American Psycho style.
Very, very entertaining. What he does.
Yes.
And speaking of entertaining, we wrap up this excursion challenge with a Dr. Will explosion. And I was loving it because it just gave me again those classic Dr. Will vibes of him. This is ridiculous. I can't believe. And it seems like the thing that sets him off here is the fact that he wanted to make Dixon fall by pulling the rope first, and they dropped them both because they both pulled the rope at the same time.
I honestly didn't really understand his annoyance and everything, but I also think that much of it was for show to just kind of do. But I tried to think about like what he was going for, and like I get that it didn't completely work, but I didn't understand really most of the annoyance. And he still got to call him a weasel and say all these little things and piss off Parvati and everything, but it didn't completely compute to me. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah, in the long run. I'm still trying to put together the pieces myself. I have a lot of questions about Dr. Will's blow up. I think if we're gonna take Dr. Will at his word that like everything here that Dr. Will did was entirely scripted, it looks like he's throwing a fit almost in private, right? Like it's just Joe around, it's just Dixon, like the other contestants aren't there and watching. He walks off. So maybe he doesn't need a grand argument here. He just needs to blow up a little bit and walk off. And the reason why I'm a little bit confused is because when we come back from the break, it looks like NBC, like Peacock, did Dr. Will dirty by cutting out the entirety of the Dr. Will rant and just starting with Joe saying, listen, Dr. Will's not here because he didn't agree with the outcome of the game.
I also think this is where it's almost like a kid who kind of like tests their boundaries with like, oh, I can get away with this, I can get away with that. It's like, oh, if I can skip this whole thing, go hang out, maybe have some iced tea and hang out in some air condition. He might be doing that and everything. And I think it plays into the narrative, but because if you think about it as a whole, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. So I think it was more just for like what I can get away with.
Yeah. He's setting up a weasel trap, trying to get a weasel in his weasel trap. By the way, I absolutely love the extended iced tea availability on this show.
So I haven't watched season 1. It's on my to-do list, but the iced tea thing I never really understood.
No, and I don't think it's ever presented in like a way that's going to make you understand it, other than the fact that there's always iced tea there. It's just the banker wants you to have some iced tea.
I prefer an Arnie Palmy, but props to them. They do get some perks. From what I understand, they didn't have air conditioning in the first season, so they've upgraded.
Mm-hmm. It's luxury Survivor is what it is. It's like Survivor
with
beach showers. Yeah.
That's the only way I would do Survivor.
Yeah, with some fresh fruit plates every now and then, a lobster here and there, and your treks through the swamp and your trust falling from a tree a couple hundred feet in the air. Very good. So when we get back from the excursion here, Dr. Will is telling everybody about what happened. He's explaining to them what he explained to us in his confessionals about trying to set a trap. But don't worry, family, he is still on CK. Like he really wants to get her out, and he does a really good job of selling it to them. While the anti-family, the homewreckers, as we are now calling them, right, Lance? They all, and I think we're talking about who? Seychelle here. I think Philip's in on it. Letty's there, and they're all talking to Dr. Will. I'm like, listen, I know you're thinking about CK, but we got to go after this family. And first of all, good job. Like I'm really glad that their eyes are open to what's going on. And you know, it's some good gameplay here.
Yeah, taking out CK makes absolutely no sense. Like the move is to create a bond with CK without people knowing it, so you guys can kind of go under the radar and everything. But yeah, the move is, I mean, that's why, you know, probably some deceptive editing and everything. But it's just like obvious move is take out MG. Like go after MG. Like Will is coming in, everyone hates him. I don't think he has a single person on his side. So you want to like you now that you have some power in this, you want to create as many alliances as possible, and you want to put the target on the people that have four people is such a strong group, especially as the numbers dwindle and everything. So like he can say what he wants, but like I think his plan all along was to go with that and everything, and it was a lot of dramatics and everything.
I absolutely love this pitch. I love that Dr. Will is into it. And I love that there is plenty of uncertainty as to whether or not Dr. Will actually go through with this. You know, I would have the toughest time reading Dr. Will out there. But
to me, it was pretty obvious though. Like, unless he wanted to just leave, like there was a point when I was like, okay, like when he was in the end, like where he's like, okay, maybe he just wants to go home because he knows he can't win. But if you take out CK, you know, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but if you take out CK, you have now everyone against you.
Yeah.
If you take out MG, you have now aligned yourself with the now majority and pointed the target at the family. And it's such an obvious move to me and stuff. Yeah. Like if they did a good job of like making it, you know, what's he going to do and stuff, but like it was such an obvious thing.
Yeah. And it makes I think you're right. It makes a ton of sense for his game. Like we were saying, like he was really alone on an island out there up until this episode where he really didn't have anyone who he's working with, anyone who trusted him. And now he's got an alliance, and it's the majority alliance. It's everybody but Parvati, David, and Dixon at this point. And
this is where Dr. Will can really like, you know, see how good he still is, because if you can almost play the middle, where this is now where you kind of want to like extend an olive branch to the family, be like, hey, they're coming after you. You know, you have to do it with some tact and everything, but like you can go back and forth now while these two major alliances now attack each other instead of, because Dr. Will's such a big threat and everyone like, I don't think he's going to last that many more episodes, but if he plays it right and things kind of break his way, he can really go back and forth and everything.
Yeah. He's got a few things going for him. The things that he's got going for him are, you know, obviously there are a lot of opportunities to perhaps get immunity in future episodes. And also
he's
the
not
opportunity.
Winning. He's not winning anymore.
And the possibility again of, you know, being on the bottom. You know, you don't want to give Dr. Will that kind of power, but then to get rid of Dr. Will, you have to risk getting rid of someone who's on your side, which makes him a little bit trickier to get out than in, you know, your Survivor, your Big Brother, or those other shows, which I think.
Yeah, it actually, like, it does it reminds me of Survivor where, what was it, the D season where the middle tribe kind of just goes back and forth until the numbers dwindle down when you have 3 tribes and stuff. So he pretty much has to be his own tribe. And this is where I would like rope in like a CK, like at least get one person you trust and then just try to like dwindle the numbers on both sides and bounce back and forth and everything.
Yeah. Well, CK has a lot of trust issues with Dr. Will. CK is, very willing to see Dr. Will go home here.
In an ideal world, that's who you team up with because everyone's like, there's no way they team up, but you really just have to find one person.
Well, it seems like Dr. Will has found more than just one person, which sets us up for an absolutely fantastic Banker's Temple here. I've got to say that this is easily the most entertaining Banker's Temple that I've ever seen over the course of these 2 seasons.
There's no gray area. You either love or hate what he did.
And I absolutely love what he did. I mean, I think there is something to be said for the fact that, you know, it sure looked like he was disrespecting the hell out of the game. But then in typical Dr. Will fashion, it's like he hits you with the gotcha after the first offer's there, and you wonder like, okay, well, maybe this is part of his plan all along, to make it seem like he doesn't care and respect this game, and then all of a sudden pull out something from like page 127 of the Deal or No Deal rulebook.
Yeah, I wonder if they give him like a pamphlet or how it goes, or if he just was like, when he decided to go on, he just went on Reddit and someone was super high and just like came up like, what if they don't do this and everything? But my favorite part, there's a lot of favorite parts, but my absolute favorite was Joe Manganiello just being like out of his mind. Like you could tell that he was not happy and everything, which I thought was great.
Yeah, I think he kind of like goes back and forth with it, right? Like, because I think it's almost like David, where he realizes this is good TV and everything. Yeah, I think at first he's not with it. Like this whole start with 1, then 2. What's the square root of 9? Well, it's not even that. I think what really annoyed him. I think he was fine with that. I think what annoyed him was the first deal thing when he took it, and then he brought out like, you didn't ask me. Like that's where the rule book really comes in and everything. And so I think the producer stepped in and was like, even if it wasn't a rule, they made it a rule because it keeps Dr. Will would have won anyways, but it's good TV and everything. So allowing him to do that is better. Yeah, I think Dr. Will 1,000% is the exact kind of person who's going to read that rule book from cover to cover, look for any kind of loophole that he can exploit here. He found one. Apparently, we didn't even know this rule existed, but you can't make a deal until Joe asks you deal or no deal. And he hits that button so fast before Joe can even, react, before Joe can even, go through his whole, it's a lot of money, so many cases to open, like just ends it right there. And I think that's... And it would have been a good deal. It's actually a pretty decent deal for Will, right? Like at that board that he had... In the sense that he would have stayed still. Because of the case and everything. Yeah, it was a 5 out of 8 shot at that point. There were 5 cases that were less than his offer. There were 3 that were higher. The odds don't get too much better than that generally in this game. Like maybe you can get a 2 out of 3, maybe a 3 out of 4 if you're really lucky, but like that's not bad as far as like taking the deal. So I was a little surprised that he did go back on it. But you kind of have to go back on it after like making this big show of things, right? I mean, he could have, but like, it's another thing where I was a little confused by like, he did it to see everyone's reactions and stuff, but I don't know how much you actually gain from seeing everyone's reactions and stuff. But I think from the pure entertainment, I'm just going to fuck around standpoint, like that's exactly why he did it. And I was actually a little surprised that he decided not to, but he's a smart guy. So I think he realized whenever you have the biggest case on the board, you're still going to get a decent offer. If you lost that, then it's where the offer really dies down and everything. Yeah. And just in the, the general deal or no deal portion of the game, it's that, the offers tend to have something to do with the average value of the cases, but there's always a huge discount on that first offer where it's going to be way less than the average. And then the further you get in the game, the closer you get to like, is it this case or the other case? And you get closer like 50-50, well balanced there. So what I found hilarious was how annoyed everyone got at him just going in order and everything. It's like, there's no point. Like, I don't care who your favorite St. Louis Cardinal is or like what day your mom was born and stuff. Like, I think him kind of making a mockery of that is like pure Dr. Will, and it doesn't matter. And the fact that people got so mad about it, to me, was hilarious. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter. I mean, they're all randomly assigned cases. It's picking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is just as good as picking your grandma's birthday. And I actually think it was smart. Like, obviously, he got rid of a lot of bigger cases, but like they're going to randomize it. But they're obviously like he was due for some smaller cases, so he should have kept going in that order and everything too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really, it seems like the only people who are put on tilt by what Dr. Will is up to are Parvati and David and the family. Really, they're the ones who are getting the most upset. I think David called Dr. Will bitch made, which is pretty intense for the bankers.
Didn't know that was still a thing in Australia. Now I know. So that's pretty good. But like I mentioned earlier, like him realizing in his confessional that he's like, this is actually pretty good. Like at least he respects it and everything, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's hard not. I think it's just such fantastic work from start to finish when Dr. Will explains the rules and that it was all a show. Like it's just, you can't not appreciate what kind of player he is at that point. Like this is a guy who's going to pull out all the stops and just fireworks all the way. And the interesting thing is, like you said about Dr. Will going on in the second round, you know, he takes out a big case, he takes out a small case, his odds actually improve. He's got a better shot. It's a 2 out of 3 shot at the second offer here, which is more than double the first offer. So of course he takes it. I think that's a smart move for him because it's hard for his odds to get better from there. His odds are likely to only get worse. You know, if I think Dr. Will doesn't give a crap about like getting that case value up, that offer value up as much as he cares about staying in the game at this point.
Exactly. At this point, like obviously, you know, it's already over 5 million and stuff. Like this is really just about survival now and everything. Like you want to add as much as possible, but it's really survival. Like there's gonna be plenty more opportunities to gain money, and he's got a lot of money too. So and this is where I think it helps that him wanting to entertain makes it easier.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the banker to at one point give an offer of $200, like just way lower than the value of everything on the board.
That actually has been one of the surprising things because I didn't watch season 1, but season 2, they open with pretty good offers where there are, you know, 4 cases lower, but 2 cases higher. Like those are great odds and everything. So it actually surprises me. You figure it's on some kind of algorithm and everything, but those the opening offers aren't terrible, odds wise.
Yeah, the banker is putting in some serious work. Speaking of the banker, since this is the first time we've ever talked Deal or No Deal Island here on the pod, I got to know your thoughts on who this mysterious female banker of season 2 might be.
You know, there's so many people it could be, and I'm not completely, you know, really know who all it could be. So the first person that popped in my head was Suri.
Okay.
Because she's, you know, she was on Traitors and everything. You know, it is a woman. I didn't watch season 1, so and you know, there isn't I didn't watch a lot of Deal or No Deal when Howie was the host and stuff. So you know, is it Meghan Markle or is it Suri? Those were the 2 that really popped in my head.
Oh, that could be good too. Meghan Markle. So the 2 that I had, I have a fantasy pick and a realistic pick. And they're both NBC connections here. I would love to see the banker be Tina Fey. I know Tina Fey loves reality TV shows. Deal or No Deal Island sounds it sounds like absolutely she would do it in a second if she was asked, I think. And that would just be fantastic TV. As to whether or not she can play the villain, I don't know. We'll see. But I think my realistic pick here, I'm going to say Martha Stewart is my pick for the banker this season. I think I think she can do villain. I think she could do villain. And
I just popped another one popped in my head, which I think would be Chef's Kiss.
Who you got?
Janelle from Big Brother. We get a little Dr. Will Janelle action. She was just on Traitors too. That would be fun. Yeah.
She does make a good villain. I do want someone who makes a good villain here.
The banks are the villain in this? Oh my gosh.
Can you believe it? The banker, a villain.
I've never heard of this in my entire life. We love capitalism.
One of my criticisms about last season's banker did not know how to play the villain. Not good at it. Not
everyone can do it.
Nope. No, not like you can, Lance. Not like you can.
I'm a great villain. Every villain thinks they're the hero of their own story.
True. So let's wrap up Deal or No Deal Island here. So obviously, Dr. Will takes that offer. He's got $1,000 in his case, so he's made a good deal. He's got the power, and he does he does a beautiful head fake. And I see this coming a mile away. Like I've seen like almost all of Dr. Will's tricks. You kind of like see coming a mile away. Like
the obvious
none your damn business. Like every line, like he said.
Yeah, that was quite the dad joke. But I mean, he didn't really have many, like I mentioned earlier, like if he doesn't do this, you now have both sides coming at you and you're pretty much the next one gone. It makes too much sense unless he really, really wanted to go home. And if he did, he would have just kept going and not taken the deal. So yeah, MG was the low hanging fruit on this one.
Yeah, she's the only person from the family who's vulnerable here. So it makes total sense that she would be the person to go home or go to whatever Deal or No Deal Island's Ponderosa is to hang out. To hang out with Storm, do more kisses to him, and then talk to Boston Rob on the after show.
Yeah, I'm sure they welcomed each other to whatever the Pondy is over there.
Mm-hmm. So do we think NBC's glad that they brought Dr. Will on?
Of course. Well, I think this is the advantage that DONDI has is you can win so much more money than other reality shows. They can, and I don't think they filmed that long. I'm not completely sure, but you can really get the guys that like Dr. Will's not coming back for, with the 250,000 you win at Traitors and stuff. Like I'm sure he made similar to that just from his like cameo and stuff. So the fact that they can offer this much money, you're going to cast well. And they did a good job. It is similar to, I think I told you this over text, like to Traitors season 1, where you now have these legit game players against these dumb, idiotic people and stuff. And that's fun to an extent.
Yeah. I think the going rate for that, I think they paid Boston Rob $100,000 to do season 1 of Deal or No Deal Island. So I'm going to guess that, Dr. Will and Parvati probably got the same deal here.
Their appearance fees are going to be huge because of how many seasons they've been on and how popular they are and stuff. And the fact that you can win $10 million or whatever, like that's going to get everyone like that. Like I would not be surprised. Like you have like Tyson, who's pretty much retired from all reality TV after the challenge screwed him. I would listen to a podcast where he said he would come back because the money is just so ridiculous. Yeah. So they'll get the people that want to film for 2 to 3 weeks because that's all they can really do. And they'll get people that won't go on the challenge, won't go on some of these more like House of Villains and things like that because of how much potentially you could win.
Yeah. And we will see what the final case holds at the very end of the game. But right now it is up well over $5 million. What at $5,699,001.
Yeah, like Winners of War was 2 million and stuff, and now you're at least 2.5 times in that and everything. Right.
Well, you also have to take that case home like that. You don't. They don't just hand you the money. You got to play Deal or No Deal for it. So
of course,
you can still go home with the opportunity.
Penny. But if you're also like I don't know, if you're Parvati or Dr. Will, like you are also going in thinking I'm the king of the castle. Like I will win and everything.
Yeah. So who do we, wrapping things up here about Deal or No Deal Island, who do we think is in the best position here moving forward after this episode?
Best position is tough. I think David's in a very good position because I think unless we have like an MG situation, like people are probably going to go for Parvati first. Mm-hmm. Dixon's pissed off enough. People might go after Dixon, and people don't really know where like that David was an Australian survivor and stuff. So he needs to keep Parvati close and everything. But the fact that he has all those things going for him, I think he's in the best position if I had to guess right now. Yeah, I think personally, I think right now that the way the board's set up where we've got, 2 competing alliances going on, my money right now is on the quiet ones here. I'm talking like Lachelle, Seychelles, and those two specifically. I can see Philip getting caught up, and I can see Letty getting caught up. But I can see some floating and stuff. But like Lachelle, maybe Seychelles has, she's got a mouth, so I think people are gonna not like that and everything. She is doing better, from where she was and stuff. But I definitely think floaters have a good shot, but you just don't want to see that either. Like, they're not doing anything.
Yeah, well, we plenty of gameplay to go on Deal or No Deal Island, and we are going to continue to follow it all right here on the Reality Show Bros. All right, so I think that wraps up Deal or No Deal Island for us for the time being. So let's head into a portion of the show we'll call the Traitor Bros, and we are going to cover this week's episode of the Traitors. This is season 3, episode 7, Till Death Do Us Part. And the first thing I got to say, like, again, like, we haven't talked about Traitors yet on podcast, but I am absolutely loving this show. I mean, not exactly the hottest take in the world that this is a good show. But it's like every aspect of the show, almost every aspect of the show is just so well put together. I mean, the costuming and the wardrobing on this episode is just absolutely incredible, as it's been all season long. The aesthetics that they have going on, even the way that they like treat the show almost like it's a story as opposed to like a reality TV competition show where people are dying and being murdered. It just has a terrific atmosphere to it.
Yeah, and I think Alan Cumming is a S-tier host.
Oh, so good. So, he is fantastic.
He's so good. They cast so well. Like, everyone wants to be on it. It's they film for 2 weeks, so you can get anybody you want. It already won an Emmy and everything. So yeah, it's honestly, like, I did not know how they were going to top season 2, and I looked at the cast when it first came out, and I was like, strong cast, but it's not going to come close to last season. But like, we're a little over halfway through, and this is the most entertaining of the American seasons so far.
Easily. And I think you got to give so much of the credit here to the picks for the Traitors.
Inspired selections.
Almost all the drama has just come from them not being able to get along at all. And it's not great for them in a gameplay perspective, maybe, but it's making for some terrific TV.
Yeah, and I was surprised how sloppy it's been. Like, and that's what you want ultimately. Mm-hmm. Like, you want the Traitors to not get along, and I think that's what is really set it up over the top for this one. And you just don't expect it. Like, okay, maybe Carolyn you thought might get a little sloppy just because of her disposition and everything, but like how bad Danielle's been. Ooh. But also, like, when you look at it, like, Danielle is playing this terrible game, but like a lot of people aren't on her. Like Jeremy was, and then it kind of went away. Carolyn said something, but no one's even bringing Danielle up anymore and everything. And like, obviously Boston Rob had once he went after Bob the Drag Queen, he had a limited time there and everything, but that's been such a big cover for both of them. So the sloppiness is great. And you've got like random people like Tom Sandoval just being like your comic relief and just completely crazy. And then finally getting one right and thinking he's like the man and stuff. So like the editing's great. And even with losing like the first half of the season, you lost like arguably like the most entertaining characters. Mm-hmm, and it's still entertaining. It's still good. Like, you still like Ivar and Sam are, as Brittany said, furniture and stuff, but it's still entertaining. And like, because of the drama, it's going to reverberate and make this last half of the season very entertaining. If I had to guess.
Mm-hmm. Hey, even Sam got this one right. There are a lot of people putting the finger on Rob, but yeah, this episode was a really long time coming. I think you're right. It just by virtue of being Boston Rob, like I would expect that any season of the Traitors that has Boston Rob in it, Boston Rob's going sooner or later, whether he's a traitor or not, because so many people are going to be pointing the finger at him as a traitor. And like, honestly, if I'm out there playing a reality TV show, maybe I don't want to play it with Boston Rob, whether he's a faithful or a traitor, Yeah,
absolutely. And that's one thing that, obviously not like these are reality stars, so they're in their own little worlds and they don't watch everything. But like, if I was going on this, I would try to have some kind of understanding of reality TV, and like, you got to get in like producer's mindset. Who would they pick?
Yeah,
and like,
absolutely.
They're obviously picking Boston Rob, and like, as a Big Brother fan, I thought they would pick Danielle. Like, Carolyn is the curveball and an inspired selection so far and stuff. But like, you have to go in thinking it's going to be Boston Rob.
Yeah, Boston Rob played the game exactly how I think you would expect Boston Rob as a traitor to play the game, which is the way he's played every reality TV show that he's ever been on. It's like, you say his name, you're gone. And he did that like 3 or 4 times in a row. Eventually the evidence stacked up. He had his good argument there, or at least convincing enough that he got a few people to go along with him.
I think
he was being set up.
No matter what,
that's the best you can do, I think.
No matter what you think of Boston Rob, like his performances at the round table are just amazing. Like even they gave him the inspirational music and everything in the last one, even knowing he was going to go. Like he made just amazing arguments and stuff. And like, if you're on this, you're probably not the smartest person in the world, even if you're a good gamer. Like obviously the gamers were on him and stuff, but like these are influential people who, like just can't have their own thoughts and everything for the most part. And this is where Boston Rob really, like, that's what he does. That's where he's been successful. It's like rounding up the herd like that.
Yeah. And he's, like you said, he's great at the round table. Like he's great in the personal conversations that he's having with people. He's even great at this challenge. I think he was teaming with Ciari, right? And like he was keeping her calm through the whole thing. Like it wasn't like one of those Chriselle moments where like, nope, done. He really helped her work through that. And
you can tell he has kids. Like that was what really stood out.
Yeah. And he did a really good job there. But yeah, talking about the other traders there, you were mentioning Danielle not playing a great game. I agree. She just disastrous from start to finish. Like very little is going well with her game, aside from the fact that she is in a much better position now than she seemed to have been in maybe a few episodes ago. Like you said,
the one thing that stands out to me is like, so I'll watch the little videos that Peacock puts out of like when they reveal to the people that were banished and killed who the traitors are. Right. And almost nobody other than Jeremy is like, they're all shocked about Carolyn and Danielle, which makes me think Danielle is playing a better game and stuff. But like, I don't know if it's because we know who it is, but her acting's terrible, like always shaking and crying and stuff. And then like, what I don't understand, and I'm hoping that like, I want Danielle to do well, but like, you have to go back to the one with the riddles or whatever, and when they smashed the urns, she was so obviously a traitor in that. Yeah. Like, how do you like let that pass and everything?
Yeah, it is really surprising that she's gone under the radar for that. But it does seem like there are some people out there who trust her. I mean, Brittany for some reason trusts her. She's got a.
Well, I think like you got to look at it where Sandra really solved the game last season and everything, and this is where I think Brittany. She might know, and she might not be, explicitly saying it, but you do want to team up with, like, that's why Gabby's in a really good spot. Like, you want to team up with somebody you have pretty sure is a traitor. And, like, I think Dylan did that, although him at the end, I do think he's going to get some blowback, not to look too far ahead. I think he's going to get some blowback because he was so defendant of Boston Rob that I think people are going to be like, a traitor would defend him and everything. So I'm worried about it and stuff, but, like, if I'm him, I play into that where like that's the Sandra move. And that's why I was a little shocked with like Derek and Wes going so hard at Boston Rob when this is like the way to go and everything and stuff. So maybe Derek really did believe Brittany was a traitor and that's who we wanted to cozy up with and everything. But like you got to go the Sandra route in this, like gather numbers and just partner up with someone you think is a traitor and try to run that to the very end.
Yeah, I don't think Dylan realized it maybe until it was too late once Rob was gone. But he made a comment that like, oh, maybe I got rid of a traitor that was actually protecting me because I was so close to him. And that's one of the things I think you got to keep in mind when you're playing this game is that there are traitors out there and they're making the sole decision on who goes home during this murder phase. So don't go after Boston Rob unless you got the votes to get him out, right? Like it's like you just got to be really careful, and it doesn't hurt to make friends with someone that you're pretty sure is a traitor, as long as you can keep your head straight. Not that Dylan's good at keeping his head straight, because Rob really
in the immortal words of Omar, "Come for the can, you best not miss."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this time they did not miss.
But I hope you remember from my text that I said he should have murdered Derek the week before he did, because he would have saved himself a lot of blood. Yeah, and him not killing him I understood where he was coming from, but like to me, that was the biggest mistake was probably going after Bob the drag queen, although I understood why. But then not killing Derek a week earlier, I think was his big fatal flaw.
Yeah, I think Rob really got caught up in, got to get this potential threat to my power out of here.
I just think he didn't identify the right threat at the right time. Like Derek was obviously the right threat.
Yeah, I think he could have let Bob go another couple weeks. I think Bob was kind of on a lot of people's radar.
No, I agree. But Bob shouldn't have said what he said either and everything. But about one of the Cage Boys and everything. But if I'm Rob, I try to focus it on one of them. Like everything was just kind of out of place because you can now push it towards Derek or Wes and everything. And then after Wes already said stuff to him, like obviously once he got rid of Bob, it was over for him.
Yeah. What do you think about the decision to at the beginning of this episode to go after Derek for this murder? Do you think that was the right move?
I do. I don't think he really had much of a choice because he waited too long and he was just so gung ho about him and everything. Like he didn't have many other options. And so I think you got to go for the loudest voice in the room at that point and then play it like he did. I just think going after Brittany was probably the wrong move, but I had like the way it was set up, like that was one of his only moves. But like I mentioned, like you had to take out Derek. If you took out Derek the week before, you don't get this amount of blood splatter on you and everything.
Where do you go if you're not going after Brittany? Where does he point the finger?
I would have teamed up with Carolyn and went after Danielle.
Okay. I don't hate that.
I think there's a lot of different moves, but to me, you solidify yourself with Carolyn, who already wants to get rid of Danielle, and then you do that. Yeah.
And Carolyn did say, that, or Rob did say that, he'd be willing to work with Carolyn, like that wasn't, that door wasn't necessarily closed.
I thought their survivor bond would work out stronger. Like, I was a little surprised, but I guess you kind of know where the votes are going and everything. And we don't see the whole round table. I was a little surprised she turned on him because if I'm her, he's this big meat shield for you. And you like, she might not be getting her way, but like, that's good because people can't really trace that back to you. So I would want to keep Rob around if I was her.
Yeah, Carolyn, first of all, so excited when she was chosen to be a traitor. Like she was one of the people I was crossing my fingers and hoping against all hope would be made a traitor. I didn't think they'd do it for the same reason that all the contestants on the show don't think she's a traitor, because like, what are you going to get? Like if you make this because she's kind of crazy, but like she is crazy in like such a great way for the traitors and like that, her fingerprints aren't on anything. The only thing I'll say that's, maybe a negative about her, bad about her game is that she cannot make anything work. Like she cannot convince anybody of anything on Survivor, the Traitors, or any show. Like she is almost always like right and smart and has her finger on the pulse of exactly what's happening. And people just look at her and that crazy Carolyn, look at her.
I do think you're right, but I do think if she goes back on Survivor 50 or she does more games, when people are more aware of her and how smart she is, she won't have these issues. But yeah, she's so quirky. But to me, it's like, I think she's had the best reads as a traitor on who to murder and everything. But like I mentioned earlier, like the fact that she's not driving the car on any of these, like that's fine. Just ride that out to the end. And the only reason she might lose now, I mean, obviously, we still have 5 more episodes and stuff. But if it wasn't for Danielle saying her name and that whole back and forth where she almost got Phaedra and stuff, like she's in such a good spot.
Yeah.
And if I'm her, like I try to keep, like, I don't think they're going to recruit a traitor yet because I think they want to see the dynamic between the two. But I try to like fake make up with Danielle and then cut her right before the last part.
Yeah, I think that looks like the best path for her. I really see the Traitors winning this season, and I think it is probably going to be just Carolyn at the end. I don't know if they're going to be able to, like you say, they may be recruiting someone at some point.
I think Faithful wins.
You think they're gonna be able to pick out Carolyn?
But if a traitor does win, it's going to be Carolyn. But yes, I think we're going to get more Danielle and Carolyn stuff. And I think Carolyn's going to, I think she'll misstep and stuff. I think a Gabby or Brittany is probably my guess to win it all as a faithful. But I also could see either one of them being recruited if they do go to a third traitor. So if one of them gets recruited, then I think traitors win. If not, I think one of those two as a faithful will win.
Yeah, I think I think Brittany's got a really good shot at making it towards the end. I think she's got the thing going where she is friends with a traitor, and you can't really underestimate.
If I'm Carolyn in this next murder, I forget if Brittany's available, but if she is, I would be like, you got to kill Brittany, and then we'll be good to Danielle and everything. Like it's the only way I offer like on an olive branch and everything, because it gets rid of her number one ally and someone she could technically recruit. And it shows that she's willing to, do this for her. It's the only way, if I'm Carolyn, I make up with her.
Yeah. I do not believe that Brittany is, I believe she got a shield at this one. So,
she did, because she was with Danielle. Yeah, they won.
Yeah. So the options for murder are very limited.
So all Carolyn can do is protect Gabby at this point.
Yeah. I think Brittany's biggest problem is not necessarily, being murdered, but I think her name may come back up at a round table. I think that she
got one out. Yeah.
I think she just makes a really easy target for people. And you expect
she's very good. And people are going to want to go after gamers as we dwindle it down and everything. So.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, if you're playing the production aspect of the game, right? Like you're looking for people who can play the role of a traitor, and Brittany for sure could do it. Like whether she'd be picked or not, I don't know, but whether she could do it for sure, right?
Yeah. So they probably were deciding between her and Danielle as the Big Brother representative as a traitor.
Yeah. So like if you're at the end of the game. Are you going to want to keep her in, or you want to get rid of her? Because like either way, like you're right about her being a traitor. Great. You win the game. You're wrong about her being a traitor. Well, she doesn't get money and you get a little bit more. So,
yeah, I think it depends, can she gather the numbers and everything? Because that's obviously the biggest thing. But I could also see her getting Sandra, at the end and everything too.
Yeah. Brittany's best case scenario at the end may be have Danielle with her, but then if she's got Danielle with her, she's not going to win the game. So, she's going to need a little bit of help from the traitors, I think, to make it to the end. But that's part of what makes this game so fun. So it rounds up being 7 votes for Rob at the round table, including both of his fellow traitors, both Carolyn and Danielle once again cast a vote for Boston Rob. Boston Rob has been trying real hard to bring this group back together. And there is too much damage done here.
You knew Danielle was going to vote for it. Like, it's almost like the challenge thing. Like once you voted for one person once, you can't vote for somebody else, especially when it's your number one ally. So the Danielle thing was obvious. Carolyn turning was a bit of a surprise, but like once his 2 allies burned votes, it was over. Like there wasn't a lot of drama.
Yeah, I think it makes sense it makes sense for Carolyn here. Like the Danielle thing last time didn't really go anywhere. So, you just got to let that stew for a while. And
yeah, you just have to read the room and stuff too, because, obviously we've seen edited versions. So I think she was probably a little more in the know about how many votes and stuff. So you only turn if you know you have the votes.
True. Yeah, that's for sure. This is not a game where you want to miss your shot, because then you are in huge danger the following night. If you're going to shoot, if you feel like if you're going to shoot your shot in this game, you really want to have a shield when you do it. That's probably the best way to go.
It's such a fine line, because you don't want to piss off Boston Rob, but then if she didn't flip on him, she's now one of the votes for somebody else. That puts the target on her too for trying to protect a traitor.
Yeah. I think they could have flipped it. Is that right? How many votes were there for Brittany? Were there 3 or 4? I think if you take 2 away from Rob, maybe it ties it up. I don't know.
I think Rob ended up getting more because there was like 1 or 2 more votes that were for him after he was already gone. So I think it was pretty heavily in that direction and everything.
Yeah. But you do love Daniel. You do love it that Danielle's the quote unquote deciding vote here. That she's the one.
Yeah, producers set that up pretty well on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about this coming murder that's going to happen. Now that Boston Rob is out of the game, we get to see how Carolyn and Danielle are going to play together, which is great because we really haven't seen, it's been almost entirely Boston Rob up in that jury. There's been very little from either of these other two, aside from a little bit of Danielle. But here are our candidates for murder for this next episode here. We've got Chriselle, we've got Dolores, we've got Dylan, we've got Tom, and we've got Gabby. Carolyn, of course, is also vulnerable here, but it is unlikely that the traitors will kill themselves. So it is between those five, Lance, who do you think is in the most trouble?
The most trouble, I would say Tom.
Yeah,
which is,
I got to agree with you.
Which you put it on Tom, then you like Chriselle. He just got 2 votes. You can say Chriselle's a traitor and do it that way. I would look at Dolores, especially after her little soliloquy saying she's coming after the traitors and everything. But yeah, to me, it's probably Tom, which is actually really funny because I thought he would get to the end and everything.
If I am a traitor, there is nothing that strikes fear into me less than an uninformed faithful just going out as like, I'm coming for you, traitors. I'm going to get you. It's like, okay, good luck.
When you look at everybody else, like everyone is so off and everything. And you're not like, if Carolyn wasn't in there, you kill Gabby 100%, but she will be protected and everything.
Yeah. Like, Carolyn does not want Gabby.
I would kind of want to keep Tom because he's so off all the time and he's just, no one respects anything he says and stuff. So like, I don't know, there are some like Dolores, at least I think demands some respect, even though she's been off and everything. So that's, to me, that seems like, and like, if you do that, it, does a little more chaos. Like who would even try to kill Dolores and everything. So, but if you're really trying to put the target on Chriselle and just thinking about the next banishment, then I think Tom makes sense. Or Chriselle, but no one's going to believe that Tom is, a traitor. So I think that's probably the move.
Yeah.
Dylan also, like I could see Dylan too, but I think Dylan is going to have enough blowback on him. And I think if I remember correctly, like Danielle, like really protected Dylan.
Yeah,
in the last one.
Both her and Carolyn seem to really like Dylan and want to keep him around.
Yeah. And I can see Dylan getting banished next or in the episode after. So I think that those are the kind of people you want to keep around.
Yeah, I think it's good to. I think if I'm a traitor, my play here is I'm going to keep Dylan around. I'm going to see how people react to him in the next episode. See if he's got any suspicion. If he doesn't have any suspicion, I'm just going to get rid of him. Because he's not necessarily the best player, but he's had these flashes of goodness. Like I won't say greatness, but like there have just been moments where he's been so close. Like finding that secret room, like being in that secret room, and really having almost all the information he needs to solve the puzzle, but not like solving it at that point. So I think you want to keep an eye on him. Tom, the only reason why you might not want to get rid of Tom, I think, is because he did pull a couple votes. But like now, I think, going after Boston Rob the way he did, like, I think that kind of solidifies him more as a faithful. I don't think a lot of people are going to be necessarily looking at him as a traitor, which makes him a good target. Like you said, Gabby's got Carolyn protecting her. So, you want to keep around people who are really, you have a good working relationship with, because they're unlikely to think you're a traitor, which really leaves Chriselle and Dolores, if you're not going after Tom. And really there, I think you can kind of take your pick. Whenever I see Chriselle on the TV, I comment like, oh yeah, Chriselle's also there,
and she's so off, and like her turning on the Bambis was so dumb and everything. So
dumb.
There are so many clueless people still around, but like Chriselle doesn't add a lot. So I would honestly, I would prefer Chriselle like from an entertainment standpoint to go.
Yeah. We've had a lot of really big players go. It's the perfect time to get out someone who's not a really good player. Maybe someone who's just a faithful, just like someone who's not going to get any votes at all. I think Carolyn and Danielle have a little bit of room to play here with it. There's no one that's immediately a threat to either of them. That's like a glaring, like, we got to deal with this right now. It's like Boston Rob's gone, a breath of fresh air, kind of reset the game a little bit and see what's going to be best for them moving forward.
Yeah, and I think an underrated thing is a lot of people there are going to think there were 3 traitors. So I don't think they're going to think there are 2. Obviously, they probably will assume someone gets recruited, and that plays into the traitors' advantage, where they can now like kind of use that as like a thing, like, oh, he probably would, or he or she would get recruited or something.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up, because there have been a few different discussions. I know Boston Rob put it out there that there are probably only 2 traitors out there when there are really 3, but he wasn't the only one who was saying that. I think that back when they were doing the sealed coffin murder, there was also a comment that it sounded like there were maybe 2 of them there. So it sounds like they maybe only looking for one, but you got to assume that if it's down to 1 at this point, there's so much game left to go that they're going to bump it up to 2.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and if I remember correctly, the first 2 seasons, they maxed out at 3. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you ever assumed there was 4. So yeah, I think if I'm a traitor, I kind of play into like depending where the heat goes, like that person could be someone who could get recruited and everything.
Yeah. If you are a traitor and you have the opportunity to recruit someone, who would you be looking at of the remaining faithful?
I mean, I think you have to pick one of the 2 number ones for, like, if you're Carolyn and you have your druthers, you're picking Gabby. Mm-hmm. If you're Danielle, you're picking Brittany, unless you really want to like curveball it and pick like a Chriselle or somebody who but then that just makes it harder, your road harder as a traitor. Like, you want to pick somebody who people would probably think, like, I could see Dylan maybe, because he's been on it and everything. But I think you want to pick somebody who you can kind of pin it on, or somebody that you're allied with.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Like, I think, there's something to be said about someone you can pin it on, right? And I think like Dylan's a good choice in that regard, right? Because like they're going to need to take out another traitor, at some point, and before this game is over. Like, it's just not going to end until they've gotten rid of at least 2 people, probably.
But I do think they're going to stick, there's only a few more episodes where you can really add somebody. I think they're going to stick with these 2 just to see how their dynamic plays out. So I don't think they're recruiting in the next episode. I mean, like, the preview, I think, would have said that they're recruiting somebody too. So I think for at least one more episode, we're not getting a recruitment. Yeah,
I think they'd hold off on that until we lose one more person. If we do lose one more person, and I think it depends on what episode we lose that person. That's the tricky thing about the traitors here, is that feels so undefined. Like, when you get new, like when you can't, like,
the game is just so set up for a traitor to win. So yeah, it makes it, if I'm a faithful, just the unknown part of that really makes it annoying. It
feels almost unfair that you could be like, as a faithful at like final 6 or something, right? Final 5. And then all of a sudden, like, we're going to pull in one more traitor into the game. Yeah. Like, at this point, and go find this person who's going to be traitoring for about 24, 48 hours before you make your final decision. Totally. So I like that. We have these 2 and I really think that, like I said, I think Carolyn can go all the way, the distance on this. And maybe Danielle too, now that, Boston Rob's gone.
If you're watching, if you're paying attention on social media and you're in Hatgate, Danielle lasts at least one more episode, because we have not seen, from the preview and everything, we haven't seen her last hat. So it's good for Danielle. I'm your number 1 Hatgate intrepid reporter.
That's good. You can learn a lot from commercial edits. You can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So it looks like we have got. It's shaping up to be a fantastic season. Cannot wait to see how it all turns out. And of course, we're going to be covering it all right here on the Reality Show Bros. Lance, do you have any other thoughts about the Traitors or Deal or No Deal Island while I have you here?
I think I've said it all, and really blessed you all with my knowledge and great reads and everything. So I'm just saying, it was good to, dust off the old podcast equipment, and, I still got it, still can throw 99 and hit the corner. Like
sticking your foot back into a well-worn shoe. It's good stuff. I love talking about this stuff with you, and I'm really excited to get into Survivor. We're going to be talking about Survivor soon. The new season is.
We might have to bump this up to 2 times a week.
We may have to.
with,
we may have to.
Like, with at the end of the month, we're going to have the things we just talked about: the challenge, Survivor, Love Is Blind, and probably one other thing that I can't even think of. And so this might have to be like a 2-time-a-week thing.
Yep. Nada Yada Island season 2. Are you familiar with Nada Yada Island, Lance?
Anything with Giabella, of course I'm familiar.
It's my favorite fake reality TV show.
And the Love Is Blind girl from last, Jess. Oh yeah. Hello. What's up, Jess? I know you have a kid. Doesn't matter. What's up?
All right. Well, you're going to want to hear all of Lance's thoughts on that and all the other contestants right here.
Yes, you will.
Right here on the Reality Show Bros. Reality Show Bros, pardon me. So if you like what you've heard, hey, listen, you got all sorts of subscribe buttons. We're going to be putting this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google and everywhere we can cram a podcast. We'll also probably be posting this to YouTube and some other places as well. So wherever you get your podcast, your Deal or No Deal Island fix, your Traitors fix, your Challenge fix, your Survivor fix, we will be there lurking in the shadows as the number 14 ranked podcasting hosts of the Survivor.
Number 13, we're coming for you, motherfucker.
Yep. We are dusting off the crown that we are coming for. So look forward to talking with you more this season, Lance, and look forward to talking with all of you listeners as well. So until next time, bye.
Bye, everybody.